So you can't break these first two rules. First one is you have to pay attention. And the second one is you have to put effort into it. I'm going to put a third one in here right now, which is what I got to do. Is don't take yourself too seriously. So I made a mistake. I'm going to let it go. That's another one I didn't put on there, which is be prepared to fail. This is one of the biggest ones. There are people that won't start. They won't even start something because they're afraid that they might fail. You have to be prepared to fail. So let's just get that out of the way. If you're not prepared to fail and fail miserably and fall flat on your face, if you're not prepared to look ridiculous, you won't achieve success. So I'm saying you must achieve success in order to be a human. You must. So be prepared to fail, be prepared to look ridiculous. And like myself, I broke my first two rules, which is to pay attention and put effort. All right, so learn from my mistakes. All right, so we're going to be talking about the 10 goals of Thanos. I had this. If you're a lip reader, go back and read my lips because I said some brilliant things in those first couple of minutes, which I don't remember now. But let's take a look at Thanos' 10 goals here. All right. So, first off, just look at the commitment on his face. This is everything. If you don't have this, you won't be able to accomplish anything. So you have to have that. All these other things in there are inside that look on his face. And I really do love this character, by the way. He's one of my favorite characters. And what I love about him is that he is willing to completely sacrifice anything and everything to achieve his goals. So the first one is you've got to have a clear vision. So I have a book that I've written, and if you don't know what I mean by a clear vision, I'm not saying come up with an arbitrary vision. So let me just get rid of that idea first off, because I'm not the first person to say you have to have a clear vision. That's just common sense, right? You have to know what it is you want. That's clear. Everybody understands that. But it is much more than just not just deciding something. Because I'll tell you something. If you make a decision to go after something, and it isn't something that you really are caring about on a deeply internal spiritual level, if this isn't something that comes from the depths of your soul, you will fail. Because life has set itself up that way. So you have to understand how this universe works. Some people might just throw around some arbitrary things. Now, there could be people who enjoy the challenge of accomplishing things. I've done this a couple of times. There may be people who enjoy the challenge of accomplishing things, and so somebody will say, I dare you to do such and such. Now, it may not be something that is their sole desire, but if they are built to respond to challenges, then they'll do it. But it's not because they so much want that particular thing as it is that they need to prove to themselves that they can accomplish whatever they want. There are people out there like that. I've done that with a few things. One of them was stand-up comedy. I've done if you've watched the Arnold character, that was one of the characters that I did, 30 years ago. I could have made it big as a stand-up comic, and I sabotaged my career, and I said I didn't want to do it. And the truth is I really didn't. It wasn't like my lifelong sole desire to spend my whole life traveling, around the country doing stand-up gigs. But looking back on it, I would have told myself, do it. Go get some success out of this. The universe is handing this to you. Go do it. And then I could have given up and done something else later on. But for most people, they may not have that thing where they have to prove themselves that they can do whatever challenge is put in front of them. So you must have a clear vision, and this is something that must be part of your deepest desires. must be part of what I call your soul desire. All right? So, you need to go get this book. I'm writing it right now. The Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. That is a book that I have written. You can go to michaelwilliamdenny.com, which will take you to my Amazon book page. You can also just go up here to courses.thunderwizard.com and click on my books. Okay, so that's the first thing that you need. That was a weird sound. Where did that come from? So you have to go there and get that. In that book, now this is probably the most important book that I have. If you see, I've got a bunch of books. It's a small book. It's an easy read. You can get through it in an afternoon or an evening. But the depth of it, you're going to have to keep coming back to it and reabsorbing it. If you can master what's in that book, you can master anything in life, because there's a reason why I call it the commandment. It is a commandment. It's not an option. You don't have an option here. If you do not follow this one commandment in this book, it's not my commandment. I'm not commanding you to do it. This is a commandment that is set up within the universe. There's not 10 commandments. There's only one. And this one commandment is that you must follow your joy. It's not an option. If you don't follow your joy, let me tell you what will happen. Poverty, misery, illness, loneliness, chaos, drama. That is what you can expect if you do not follow your joy. The universe. Now, this is a spiritual perspective. So if you're an atheist and you don't believe in anything spiritual, then you might have a hard time grasping this. But we live in a universe that is created from spiritual essence. The spiritual essence of the universe and everything is joy. If you are a person who has grown up in Western society, not even Western society anymore. Now it's, what has happened in the East, like China and in Japan, there's a lot of loneliness in Japan. There's a lot of suicide in Japan. And that's because what ended up happening after World War II is they, in their tradition, they dropped a lot of their traditions, which had to do with discipline and honor and all those things. And then they absorbed the Western imperial understanding of hard work. And those two things mixed together and created this denial of self and going after, and working, 800 hours a week and not sleeping, and your whole worth is about how much money you make and how successful you are. And people are so lonely that, they're offing themselves. That's not what we're talking about. There's no joy in that. You must operate from joy. The universe has set it up, and you are the person who created it, by the way. You're not a victim. You created all of this because you incarnated into a human body, and you were very privileged to do so that you could be forced into learning and experiencing and discovering what your greatest joy is, and then living it. And it's a warrior journey. It's a warrior path, because it is a path that if you do not achieve it, what you will get is misery, loneliness, pain. So if you're experiencing any of those things, it's not because Thanos is coming down and doing it to you. It's not because reptilians or the elites or rich people, or it's not because anybody else is doing anything to you. It is because for whatever reason you have chosen not to take up the challenge to live your soul's fantasy at all costs. You must be willing, as we'll talk about later, you must be willing to sacrifice everything for it, or you will not do it. The universe is designed to take it away from you if you're not completely committed to it. It's part of the reason you're here. is to learn how to live directly from the soul. All right? So the 10 goals are, starting with the first one, is you have to have a clear vision, and that clear vision comes from your soul desire, what your soul wants to do. Now, if I say to you, if you lived in a fantasy world where you didn't have to make any money, you didn't have to have a job, you didn't have to meet anybody's expectations, you didn't have to be a good person, a strong person, a beautiful person, you didn't have to make your parents happy, you didn't have to live up to God's standards, you didn't have to be good or righteous, you didn't have to do all that, and you could do absolutely anything that you want, what would you do? If your response to that question is, I don't know, it means you are in conflict. Your soul is in conflict with what your mind has been imprinted to do. You are in conflict with trying to meet the world's standards, your parents' standards, and not your soul. And you're giving up your soul in order to get love and approval from other people. That creates conflict, it creates confusion, which then will result in anger on the inside, which will then turn into guilt, self-hatred, turn into physical disease, misery, loneliness, emptiness, chaos, hopelessness. So the answer is very simple. You must have a clear vision of what your soul wants you to do. Number 2, you must commit totally to your vision. Now, the only way this is going to work is if you do the first step correctly. If you are able to find out what your soul truly wants, then and only then will you have the power to completely commit. Like I said, the only other way that could work is if somebody's desire is to be this kind of person who can do anything, whatever it is, and you give them whatever challenge and they go do it. You know, if somebody doesn't want to be Mr. Olympia and somebody says, I dare you to be Mr. Olympia. They go, all right, I'm going to prove to you that, and then they go and do it. Most of us, that's not our soul desire. Our soul desire is usually very specific. But once you know what that is, you have to commit totally. Here's how this works. We live in a universe that is designed, that you designed, the matrix that you designed to respond to you in 2 distinct ways. The first way is to reward you whenever you are following what I've called your soul desire. This is what your soul wants, not your brain, but your soul. Most people don't know the difference. Most people can't tell the difference. But if you know what your soul desire is, that is the thing that stimulates the universe to give you positive feedback: money, success, health, happiness. Along with that, you have your unconscious programming, which you designed. You designed it this way so that you would constantly have to choose and fight the battle for your soul against the world, what the world wants from you. That includes your parents. That includes your spouse, your siblings, your friends, your church, your society, your government. If what they want goes against what your soul wants, you have only one choice, which is to go after your soul at all costs. Which means you have to commit totally. So what will happen is when you are able to listen to your soul desire, the first thing that will pop up is joy. You will have at the very least a nanosecond of joy. I always listen for this in my body because I ask myself this question all the time. I'm constantly asking myself, what is it that I want? You know, when I get what I want, and then I'm there for a while, and things, that's the way life is, things get kind of boring. And I go, okay, so I've kind of reached this level, what do I want now? And I go through the same thing that you guys go through. I go through the confusion, I go through the conflict, I go through the, wow, I really want to play it safe here, and I really want these people to love me in this way. I'm doing it with my channel. If you're watching my channel, if you've been watching my channel, you're seeing me break out into some new things. I'm not afraid to now, have Arnold swears he's bigger come on and tell you to subscribe to my channel. I know that people are going to criticize me. A lot of people are going to think it's funny. A lot of people are going to go, God, he's totally selling out. I don't care. You guys don't pay my bills. So I'll do that. I'm listening today. What I said earlier is that one of the things I do is I listen. I listen to, first and foremost, what women say, whether they love me or not, because the feminine of the universe always has something to tell me through the mouth of a woman. I may have to reinterpret it a little bit. If they're being mean to me, I may have to dodge the criticism to get to the message that the Shakti of the earth is telling me. But I also just listen to people in general. And one other very cool little thing, take this and write this in your notebook. When, I'm going to say 3, just to be safe, 3 or more people that don't know each other, when 3 or more people that don't know each other say the same thing, it's the universe trying to tell you something. It's the matrix. The matrix giving you helpful information. Because the matrix wants to help you. This is one of the things people don't understand. The matrix isn't trying to trap you unless you are trapped in your own self-doubt, unless you're trapped in victim mentality. Then the universe clicks into a mode and it starts to oppress you so that you will wake up and get so angry that you'll say, I refuse to be a victim. And then it goes, good, now let's help you. Because if you're not following your soul desire, you are a drain on the universe. Don't take that, don't get guilt about that. Just go, oh, it's okay for me to enjoy myself. That's the bottom line here. If you live to enjoy yourself, everything benefits. If you are miserable and life is just drudgery and you're drudging through, you are bringing everybody else down with you. It means you don't know what you want. So one of the things that I listen to is that there's been no shortage of people say, hey, you look like Thanos. Hey, are you Thanos? Hey, Thanos. You know, I love that character. And you know, not that he's a, like somebody said here, a genocidal maniac. That's not what I love about him. What I love about him is that he is willing to sacrifice himself and everything he loves to achieve his goal. And even though he's got a twisted understanding, his, you know, at least in the movie version of him, what he really wants is he wants to bring peace to the universe. He just, you know, he doesn't quite understand how to do that. But in terms of achieving his goal, he's absolutely, you know, he's willing to completely annihilate himself in the process. He's willing to sacrifice anything. That's one of the things I love about him. So yeah, so you know what? It just dawned on me because I'm sitting here thinking, what can I do? What can I do to attract more people to my channel? That's one way. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm playing around with all kinds of different apps going on my phone and TikTok and Instagram and whatever else just to get, you know, see what works and what doesn't to get people to my channel. All right, so you must be willing to commit totally. And before I go further, the reason why you have to commit totally is because once you have that first burst of joy that hits you when you realize what your soul desire is, after that initial burst of joy, which could last from a few seconds to maybe a day, in my experience, you might be different, but for me, it'll last a few seconds and it'll last a day. And then you wake up the next morning and all of a sudden, you thought that when you went to bed that, you know what, I'm going to feel hopeful about this and I know exactly what I'm going to do and I'm going to be this and that. And you wake up the next day and you're like, what the hell was I thinking? I can't do that. How could I possibly be able to pull that off? That's why in the beginning, you got to listen to that joy. As soon as you get that joy, step number 1, you got to write it down exactly what it is that you want while you're feeling motivated, because you will lose motivation. That's why number 2 is there. You have to commit totally. Once the joy comes up, you make a decision right there and you say, this is going to be my life or I'll die trying. That's it. End of discussion. I'm going to make this happen. I don't know how yet, but I'm going to make it happen or I'm going to die doing it. That's committing totally. Then 3, you have to set a date. That means you have to pick a calendar and you have to put a date on the calendar and say, by such and such time, I am going to have whatever your goal is. Whatever the heck your goal is. You want to lose 20 pounds, you're going to lose 20 pounds. You want to have X amount of money, you'll have X amount of money. I'll tell you another trick. If you're struggling with money, here's how you figure out how much money you need to make. First off, you should never live your life based on what you think you can afford. Never. You shouldn't, like, for instance, when I was back in California, and at the time, I was doing this channel. My channel was just starting to take off. I was living in wasn't even a one bedroom. It was just a studio house in somebody's backyard in Carson, California. If you know anything about Southern California, Carson, California is, right there on the edge of South Central Los Angeles. And it was a nice little house. It was a nice neighborhood. I loved the neighborhood. Everybody was really cool. But it was South Central LA. And it was a studio house. And I could lie in bed. And I could touch my kitchen. And I could, almost touch the front door. You know what I mean? It was like I could just reach out and touch everything from my bed. And I was spending, this is Los Angeles, I was spending $900 a month to live there, which for LA is not a whole lot of money, but maybe in other places it is. And I was really struggling. And I knew that I wanted to live at the beach. My dream at that time was to live in Manhattan Beach, specifically El Porto, which is the premier beach break surf spot in Southern California, south of the LA airport. I wanted to live right there. I wanted to live right on the beach. There was no way I was going to be able to afford it because that's prime real estate. $900 a month. I was barely able to just pay my rent and function. But I made the decision. I said, that's where I'm going to live. I don't care what it takes. I'm going to go do it. So I started going down to the beach, and I started going in and looking online and then walking around and seeing the for rent signs. And I just stopped thinking about what I could afford, and I started thinking about what I wanted. That's it, just what I wanted. And I went by this building, and I looked at that building, and I went, wow, I would totally live there. This is the perfect spot right here. I want to be able to walk out of my apartment and go surfing right there. And it was for rent. And I went in and made an appointment for the landlord. Came down. He had no idea that I couldn't afford it. And I filled out an application, and all he did was look at my credit score, and I lied to him. I told him, he asked me how much I made, and I lied to him. And that was actually my goal for what I wanted to make, because once I looked at how much it cost, I told him this is what I made. And he said, you know what, I like you. And then he just said, when can you move in? And he forced me. He's like, I need you to sign now. Commit now. So without having the money, I had to commit to it, and once you sign a lease, you're there for a year, right? And what ended up happening is my channel went through the roof, and I was magically able to afford to live there. So here's another thing that I do which works for me. Is like now, going back in time, I looked at that apartment. I was only making X amount of money. I went, okay, that apartment costs X amount per month. I need X amount of money. So then I broke it down and I said, I need to have X amount of clients per day. I need to charge X amount of money per client, per day, per week in order to get this. And I made that my goal, and I said, that's what I'm going to do. And that's exactly what I ended up having. I ended up having exactly what I asked for. Why? Because my sole desire is to surf. I want to spend my life surfing, living on the beach and surfing. That is my life. My sole desire will dictate to the universe, hey, give him whatever resources he needs to have what he wants. So all of this stuff is good. Write down exactly how much it costs to have the life that you want. Don't write down what you can afford, because that'll just keep you stuck. Never do that. You can do that if you're you're buying a microwave and a mattress. You can go, okay, right now I can afford X amount. But when it comes to your lifestyle, your living, never go by what you can afford. Go after what you want and make the money. Whenever this happens to me all the time, it's happening to me now. and I say to myself, gosh, I can only afford such and such, and then I think, and then I stop, wait a minute, it's just easier to make more money. Instead of denying myself the things that I want, it's just easier to make more money. I want you to hear what I said. It's easier to make more money than it is to deny yourself what you want. All right, so that is, number 2, commit totally. 3, decide on a date. So decide on when you're going to have it. And I did that too. I remember when I was walking around, my neighborhood in South Central LA, because I take a walk every day wherever I am, and I'm walking around thinking about what I'm going to do with my life and what my tomorrow, whatever. And I was like, I gotta move out of here. I gotta live at the beach. I am going to live on the beach, and I gave myself a 3-month window. I don't remember what it was, but I said by such and such date, I'm going to be living exactly where I want on the beach in El Porto. Had no idea how I was going to pull it off. So you got to decide a date. The universe will respond to you if you decide to a date. And you commit to that. No matter what, you're going to meet that deadline. Otherwise, it won't happen. Guaranteed. All right, number 4, do anything. Do whatever the hell it takes. This is something that you can say to yourself when you don't know how you're going to pull it off. You pull it off. You decide what it is that you want, not what you can afford, but what you want. You decide on a date by X amount, I'm going to live in this, or I'm going to have this, or I'm going to lose this much weight, or I'm going to achieve this, or have X amount of subscribers on my channel, or whatever the hell it is. And then you do whatever the hell it takes. You sit around and you go, what can I do? What can I do differently? You're watching me do it right now. I'm doing all kinds of new little things that I wouldn't have done, a year ago, because I wouldn't have wanted to get the criticism for it. And here's something important. Let me. This is really important. When you decide to go accomplish something, people will come, guaranteed. People will come to try and talk you out of it. They'll either try and talk you out of it, or they will criticize you, or they will call you names. Happens to me all the time, especially when I started out on this channel. So in the beginning, especially when you put yourself out there, especially if you're breaking through your limitations and being something you haven't been before, people are going to come and try and shame you, ridicule you, talk you out of it, whatever. You've got to be prepared. Here's the thing that dawned on me. What dawned on me early on in my channel was when people started, when I started offering services, right? And let me be clear on why I offer services. Now, everybody else is different. This is why I do it. I have my goal. I want to live by the beach. I want to surf as often as I want. I don't want to wake up to any alarm clock. I don't want to follow anybody's schedule. I only want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. Now, in order for me to have that life and to live like I am now, I'm living in a 3-bedroom house right across from the ocean in Queensland, Australia, for 2/3 of what it would cost me to have an apartment on the beach in Los Angeles. I forgot what I was saying. What was I saying? In order to, what was really important? Something along the lines of, why I started offering services. Because in order for me to have the money to live how I wanted to live, there had to be some income coming in. Now, because I don't want to work for somebody else, and because I don't want to, have a timetable, the easiest thing to do is to have online digital products and services, like rune readings and astrology readings and consultations and all those things. Now, as it turns out, I love doing all those things, so I turned them into money. But the reason why I did that is so I could have the income to live the life that I wanted to live. Now, I get criticized a lot by, people who live in their mother's basement who aren't doing anything with their life. And they say that I've sold out. that how can you be a spiritual person and charge money? Now, I won't lie to you, those criticisms were hard to hear because, you know, that's not who I am. I have a very strong code of ethics, and if you knew me, you know, personally, you would know all that. So when somebody attacks my credibility like that, it's very challenging for me to listen to. Until I said to myself, hang on a second, those guys aren't paying my bills. Who cares what they think? If they hate me and I get my bills paid, who the hell cares? That's the attitude you have to have. Anybody that's going to come and attack you and criticize you, ask yourself, is that person paying my bills? So when somebody comes on my channel and they want to accuse me, why aren't you selling out and why don't you do this? I haven't done it, but you know, my thought process is, hey, if you want to give me $10,000 a month, I'll do whatever you want. You want to hire me to be the spiritual and you want to tell me how to do it? Give me $10,000 a month and I'll be happy to change my program to meet your needs. Until then, you're not paying my bills. And I have a responsibility to my own body to pay my own bills and eat my own food and be happy and comfortable. And if you don't like it, there's the door. You got to have that attitude. You got to be willing to have everybody disapprove of you. Because once you're doing that, then the people who need what you have will thank you. They will happily pay you whatever you want in order to get what you offer. All right? So that is number 4, do anything. Number 5 goes along with do anything. Do not stop. Because guaranteed, after the initial soul desire awareness hits you and you are full of all kinds of optimism, and the first thing that's going to happen is your own doubt is going to kick in. Your unconscious desire to have people love you and accept you is going to kick in, and it'll feel like you're dying if you don't get them to love you and accept you, you'll feel like, I can't do it, it'll never happen, I'm not worth it, it's impossible, whatever it is. You also have to be willing to fail. You have to be willing to fail. If you go on, you listen to Arnold on the YouTube, not my Arnold, the actual Arnold. Go listen to Arnold, and he talks about how often he failed. You've got to fail. People won't start. You know, they don't even start because they're afraid of failing. You will fail. You'll trip and fall. It's going to happen. It's not how many times you fail. It's how many times you get up and you keep going. This comes back to the understanding. The spiritual understanding is that you are commanded to live your greatest joy. It is a commandment. It is not an option. If you do not live your greatest joy, you will be sick, you will be miserable, you will be poor, you will be sad, you will be lonely, you will be oppressed, you will be a victim, guaranteed. That's the universe's way of saying you're not following the command. The command is to live your joy. When you live your joy, as I said, all of these things are going to come up to try and stop you. So do not stop. All right? Now the second 10 goals are spiritual in nature, and I'm going to get to those in specific, but until then I'm going to answer some questions. Now, hopefully we've got some new people on the channel. Here's how it works. This is a question and answer. This is not a free-for-all. I do not care about your opinion, nothing personal. I'm only interested to help those who think that I have something that they need to know. If you have a question, you write the word question so I don't have to look at all of people's, opinions and whatever else. If you do have a question, write it out so that I can read it. 6 words and a couple of letters isn't a question. It has a subject and an object and a verb. Also, don't expect that I know the context. I may say something to you, what do you mean by that? But because of the delay and other people, I may not get back to it. So don't, give me the context so that I know what you're talking about. All right, so let's take a look. Okay, looking at, Shaw Ace, Thanos was a genocidal maniac. Yeah, that's not the point. Point is that Thanos was willing to sacrifice even himself for his higher goal. He had a goal. Now we can debate on whether or not he was right about that. Yes, he was a genocidal maniac. But he had that. And this is what I love about this picture, because I love that picture of him. Just absolutely, totally committed to get those 5 stones to achieve his goals. And you know, at least the movie version, right? I didn't follow the comic version, but in the movie version, he was willing to sacrifice the thing he loved the most, his own daughter. That's the kind of commitment you have to have. All right, so Alekia Patria question: I really don't want to die and lose my body because I am very bothered that my soul, like a fool, will decide to born in an animal. How can I make sure that I'll be human? Alekia, what does that have to do with what we're talking about? I hear you and I feel for you, but you know, what is it you want me to do? Here's the deal, Alekia. Stop worrying about things that are out of your control. Right now, where you are, you don't have any control over what's going to happen when you leave your physical body. But I can guarantee you, sitting around worrying about it will make your physical body weaker and will bring you closer to your physical demise. So if what you want is to not lose your life, stop worrying about things you can't control. Now, the only way that you can stop worrying about things you can't control is you have to follow what I tell you to do, which is what the first thing that you have to do, if you watch my videos, is drop all fear. Drop all fear-based beliefs. Trust the universe. Trust that the universe will give to you. Now, trust is not a guarantee that comes easily. In other words, if you're waiting, like many people, give me a sign, show me that you exist. If the universe is real, if God is real, that's not trust. If some angel appears in front of you and gives you, a gold-plated magical postcard that says you will not die, you will be, and gives you a guarantee, then there's no point. You don't need to trust anymore. Trust means you don't know if you're going to get it. But I can tell you from experience that every time that I jump off the cliff and I trust, not knowing, without any guarantee, and it's always the same, the fear never goes away. The only thing that changes is you have experience and you go, well, last time I did it, it worked, so I'm going to do it again. But I still feel like, what if this happens and what if that happens? Who cares? If you want to live forever in your soul, you're worried about after you're out of the body. You're in the body now. Why are you worrying about the future? It's a waste of your energy. But if you want that, the first thing you got to do is live this life. So my question to you is not what we can do to help you feel better about the afterlife. My question to you is what gives you joy? I can tell you that it's not the knowledge of the afterlife. That's coming from your fear. Focus on the here and now. You are in the physical, in your human body, right here and now, and you have a purpose. And that purpose is to live your greatest joy. Every moment that you are not living your greatest joy, you are adding to your own misery, which is where you are. You're trapped in your own fear and misery of the afterlife. So forget all of that afterlife stuff and start asking yourself, what do I want right now? If you don't know what that is, then do all the exercises that I teach. Do the meditations. Go subscribe. Are you subscribed to the thunderwizard.com website? Are you subscribed to the Patreon channel? Are you following the videos? Are you doing the exercises that I give? That's what the exercises are for. The exercises, the meditations, the mantras, the qigong, the whatever it is, they are designed to change you so that you can live in the here and now and be in your body and live your joy. And the ironic thing is when you're not worried about the afterlife, you're then eternal. Look at me. It's not that I live without fear. I have fear. It's not that I live without emotional pain. It's not that I don't have loneliness. I have all the same emotions everybody else has. The difference is that I am fully committed every day to living my greatest happiness, whatever it is. When I do that, I'm in connection with my soul. When I'm in connection with my soul, I'm infinite. And here I am, again, a knock on wood. I'm just telling you my experience. I get told on almost a daily basis by 20, 25-year-old women, they think I'm 40 years old. And they say, oh my gosh, your skin is so soft. Your skin is softer than mine. Why is that? It's because I think I'm connected to my soul. My soul is connected to infinity. The infinite energy of the universe fills all the cells in my body. It's giving me the appearance and the experience of youth and strength. I'm stronger than I've ever been in my entire life, physically. And one of the things I don't do is I don't worry about the afterlife. I'm only living now. If you understand how the universe works, it's the same in the body as out of the body. If you're miserable now, guess what's going to happen when you die? You're going to be miserable then too. If you're living your joy in the body and you die, guess what happens? You'll be living your joy in whatever other realm you end up with after you die. If I made my point, focus on the here and now. Forget about the afterlife. It's a waste of energy. All right. Brett Bernholt. If you have a question, please write the word question and I'll answer it. What are your opinions about the use of modern technology in magic and spirituality? Just started a new YouTube channel on the subject, would appreciate your insight. I don't have any insight. The thing that my channel is about is you ask me about what I teach. So if you're not familiar with what I teach, listen and watch the videos, and then ask me questions according to what I teach. I don't teach anything about that. I have nothing against it. I have no opinion about it one way or another. I wish you all the best in your channel. And, if it's helpful to you and helpful to others, I look forward to seeing it. It's under Staves Rangel question. How long ago were you in the studio in Carson? 2014? 2014? 5-6 years ago? Wanderer. Question, Mahadeva. Is there a Norse equivalent to Saraswati that you are aware of? Well, you look at what planet Saraswati is, which would be Mercury. I'm not aware of one. I'm sure there was one. I can't tell you one offhand, though. Mercury-based Norse goddess. I'm sure there is one. One isn't coming to mind right now. And part of the reason is because, we aren't connected, because there were a lot more gods and goddesses than just what we see in mythology. There were local deities and local goddesses, and there was a lot more. So we probably lost some through history. To answer your question, I don't know. Joe Van Hudson question, what is your take on the coronavirus? What do you want me to say about that? That's not a specific question. It's a virus. I do have some opinions on it, but again, you don't see me teaching anything about it. So ask me about things I teach. My final answer about that is that it would be irresponsible of me, because I'm not a medical professional. It would be irresponsible of me to tell you what my opinions are, because I could potentially cause somebody harm or give bad information. So I don't talk about things I don't know. So that's my answer to that. James Noonan question. You look like you've gotten younger. I agree. And it's because of everything I've said. I'm living where I want to live. The stress of not being where I wanted to be was challenging. And now I'm where I want to be. I love the energy here. I love the energy of this place. I love the energy of just everything. In this house, again, I talk about this house. It sort of happened, I won't go through the whole story, but it just sort of happened out of nowhere. And here I am living in this fully furnished, I wish I could show, I could show you, but there's just like this entertainment center over here with a big couch. And I got, 3 bedrooms up there and a bathroom, and then there's the stairs right behind me that go down to a whole lower level that's tiled, and there's like a television game room down there, and I got this whole thing set up where I can do my practices and my kung fu, and then I've got my surfboards all lined up in the garage, and right across the street, I've got all that, and that just happened because of me lining myself up and doing what I wanted to do. A couple months ago, I was down in Byron Bay area, and I did not like it there, and I was trapped in a year lease, and I said, screw it, I'm leaving. I don't care how much it's going to cost me. I'm out of here. I ended up, magically somebody else came in and took over the lease. I didn't lose a lot of money. And then this place came apart, came about. It was an Airbnb. And I went to them and I said, I like it here. I want to stay. I'm going to stay here for a year. Will you just rent to me? And they said, yep. And they cleared off the schedule and just let me rent. And it's 2/3 of what it would cost me to live in an apartment on the beach in Los Angeles. This is how the universe works, you guys. When you're listening to your deepest desire and you're following your joy, the universe lines up to give you your total fantasy. But you got to drop the fear and you got to take the risk. You don't do those two things, it doesn't kick in. There's a mechanism within the matrix that gets kicked in once you follow that first commandment, which is to follow your greatest joy, and then to stick with it and to take the risk and all that. When you do that, it kicks everything in the universe and you start lining things up, and part of it is you become healthy. You actually, I agree, I've gotten younger since I've got here. I totally agree. All right. What's your diet and exercise program to defeat the Avengers? My diet, I really don't have that much of a diet. I've been, doing this kind of stuff for a long time. I've gotten rid of things that my body responds negatively to. I don't do red meat. I don't do a lot of dairy. Obviously, I don't drink alcohol. I don't do any mind-altering substances whatsoever. And my exercise regime is I surf. And when I can't surf, I go to the gym and I lift. And I'll do my kung fu forms and my qigong. And I do my, my daily, no matter what, I always do my daily mantra ritual every day. I think other than that, I don't have a specific diet, other than it's important to find out, because the other thing is you may not be the same as me. My body requires tons of protein. And I've just realized this in the past 5 or 6 years. But my body requires tons of protein. So it gets really tiresome just to eat chicken all day. It just gets really boring. So I have unflavored protein powder. And I'm pounding that all day, in between having, fish and chicken and, of course, vegetables and other stuff like that. So that's my diet. Your diet may be totally different because you're built differently than me. This is what my body needs. Also a question, James Noonan, thanks for all you do. It has supercharged my life. Okay, that's not a question, but thank you for saying that. Non-care question. I seen your manifest 100K in 90 days. Would this same ritual work for finding a spouse or high school sweetheart instead of money? It's a great question. That's arbitrary. The 90 days. The X amount of money in X amount of days, it's totally arbitrary. It teaches you how to have a goal and go after it and commit to it. But yes, that would work the same for finding a spouse or a high school sweetheart. Yeah, it would work the same. Now, I hesitate about this. I could be wrong. I'm willing to be wrong about this. When we're talking about a spouse, that's something that's kind of predetermined in your karmic scenario. So for that, if you guys are interested in that, go to Love Astrology. I'll write it here. I'm tired of just putting up different links all the time. loveastrology.thunderwizard.com or excuse me, or go to courses.thunderwizard.com and look for love astrology. In that, I can tell you um, what's going to happen to you in terms of major relationships like marriage. What will be, what the person will be like, what the relationship will, what the focus of the relationship will be, and what will either end the relationship, or what its problems will be, and or what will be its strengths and keep it going. You can go to Love Astrology. So to answer your question, yes, you can do it. My personal feeling, this could be my limitation and my belief, is that when it comes to spouses, that's not really something you can like command out of nowhere. Having said that, I have heard my teacher once talked about his marriage, and he said that he just made the decision one day that he wasn't going to get into another relationship until it was the one, and then boom, she showed up. Now, the other thing to that is that because he was stimulated to make that decision because his karma was being stimulated at that point in time? Or was his decision, you know, all of that? So the short answer is yes, do it. Yeah, so that's my answer to your question. That's my best way to do it. All right. Nathan Peck, question. It's full moon tonight in England. What uses can I use the full moon for? P.S. Hool breath and your teachings saved my life. Honest. I kept hearing your voice saying to have no fear. Well, I'm glad I was helpful in that way. What uses can I use the full moon for? Well, the full moon is a great time to do ritual. It's a great time to do mantra. It's a great time to do these kinds of things where you make commitments. I'm going to achieve this in X amount of time, and moon give me the power to do whatever it takes to accomplish that. The moon represents your meditative mind. The meditative mind is the intuitive mind. So there are people who work well intuitively. I'm one of those people. Like today's thing came intuitively to me. And it came from me doing what I do every day when I'm really working towards things. I take a walk and I think about what I want to do. You know, what things are trending, what will get me a lot of attention, what it is I really want to talk about. And so depending on how I feel, I'll decide, okay, I'll do some clickbait today, or I'll do something real, or I'll just get something off my chest. And then it just all sort of came together. And so that's where today came from, because I like to follow my intuition. Some people need to figure it out. They're more intellectual. They need to sit down and really figure it out. So the moon is your intuition that helps you to do that. So this is a great time to get to ask for intuition, to do a ritual in front of the moon, and you know, offer some mead or some honey water to Thor, because Thor, Thunar, is the lord of the moon, the lord of the mind, the lord of, if you want to say intuition, he's the lord of that as well. And anyway, those are some of my thoughts. But you know, you can use the full moon for just about any purpose you want. Yeah. So there's my answer to that question. By the way, the best time to use the full moon is the day before the full moon, because that's when it's at its most potent. It's reaching its apex. Most of the time when it's the day of the full moon, it's usually already just passed, and so it's starting to wane. So that's the most powerful time, is the day before the full moon. Also, the day before the new moon. That's also a very powerful time as well, to make commitments and to do rituals. And if you want to, you can do a ritual from the day before the new moon to the day before the full moon, and you can do a whole mantra ritual with an intention and all that. That's another great way. You know, as the moon is rising, as your mind and your intuition is gaining strength, you can make that determination. And I always end all of my, you know, when I'm doing my chants or my rituals, and I say, bring this to me, bring that to me, blah, I'm going to do this. At the end, I always say, so it is commanded, so it shall be done. And I clap 3 times in front of my navel center to wake my navel center up and say, go manifest this. So you can do that if you want. Say, so it is commanded, so it shall be done, and then clap 3 times in front of your navel center to get your dwarves to go out and do their job. Nathan Peck says it's James Peck, not Nathan. Well, the name says Nathan, so that's not my fault. Change your YouTube name. Arthur McGonnell, question, do you incorporate flat earth knowledge in your work? Arthur, welcome to the channel. Obviously, you're new to my channel. That means that you haven't watched my videos yet. Because if you had, you would know if I incorporate that knowledge into my work. So my answer to you is put the time and effort to watch my channel. You'll find out what my opinion on that is. I just recently did one. In fact, it wasn't me. It was Arnold Swears He's Bigger. Came on and talked about the flat earth conspiracy. And he gave his ideas about whether the earth was flat or whether it was pumped and round. So go watch that video and he'll tell you what he thinks. He and I are very similar. He has some different ideas about how science works than I do, but we're pretty much on the same page. Alekia Patria question, thank you. One more thing. I really want to know that every single human being is responsible for their own success and happiness, but mind keeps telling me that it's their upbringing. They GT learn, yeah, so please write out whole words because I don't know what GT learn NTNG means. So you want to know that every single human being is responsible for their own success and happiness, but your mind keeps telling you that it's their upbringing. Well, we live in a holographic universe. And in a holographic universe, it's not a this or that, it's a this and that. So both of what you said is true. It's not either or. This is the fear-based thing that you come from because you don't believe the universe will take care of you. So you have to go into black or white. This is how, little children think. Little children think this way because they're little and they're scared. Fear-based gets you into black and white thinking. When you're comfortable, you get into, it's both. Yes, your upbringing, of course. I spend so much of my time talking about how to reprogram the unconscious mind so that you will be programmed to go out and succeed. Of course, that's part of it. And of course, every human being is responsible for their own success and happiness. You're responsible for everything. You're also responsible for all your misery. You're responsible for everything. So that's a good thing to know. That means that no matter how far down the scale you are, and trust me, I've been there, and I find myself there all the time. I know that when I make a decision, and when I make a decision based on my soul desire, even if it looks completely, totally impossible at the moment, I know I will have it. And I don't know that because I'm filled with this feeling of confidence in myself or the universe. It's because I've proven it to myself over and over again. In fact, I was just thinking about it the other day. That when I make a decision that I am going to have this, I don't know how, but this is my decision. It could be something as, I don't know how, but I'm going to lose 10 pounds. And you don't know how you're going to do it, but by such and such time I will have lost 10 pounds. I've even done that where I've said in such and such time I'm going to lose X amount of weight without having to exercise or change my diet. How that happens, I don't know, but it does. That's how the universe works. So you get to do both. You get to go look at your upbringing and your unconscious programming, and you get to fix it. We'll talk about that later in the next 5. So let's do that now. I know there's more questions, but let's go ahead and get to the next. The next 5. Has this been on this whole time? You guys haven't even been looking at me. I've just been listening to me the whole time. All right, so let's pay attention and put effort. That's me. All right. So the next 5 are 6, meditate on your goal. Right? So once you've done the first 5, you have a clear vision, you totally commit, you decide on a date, you do anything, you do not stop. Then 6 is you meditate on your goal. So your goal is whatever it is I just said. You're going to lose 10 pounds in 2 weeks. You meditate on that. You want to have a spouse, right? You've decided what your perfect spouse is. Meditate on her. Draw a picture of her. Find a picture of what she looks like. Meditate on her. If you want to achieve $100,000, you want to have your own YouTube channel, you want to live in Australia and surf every day, I don't care what it is. You meditate on that. So there's all different kinds of meditation. Courses.thunderwizard.com. You can see all the different meditation programs that I offer. There is visualization. Some people can't visualize. Not a problem. Some people, they need to say it over and over again. So this is what we would call uh, conscious affirmations, which have limitations. But you can employ that in your meditation. There is energy work. So you can do Qigong. You can do the celestial Qigong. You can do the Qigong on the free channel, this channel, the free Qigong on the channel. You can do Tai Chi. You can swim. You can surf. You can take walks in the forest. Whatever it is that gives you the ability to focus and meditate, that's your meditation. And during your meditation, you can focus on what it is that you want, whether that's visualizing it, whether that's saying over and over again, I'm going to have this, I'm going to have this. Bear in mind that that's different than just positive affirmations. When you're doing something that involves breath and life force energy, then you are tapping into your unconscious. Now, the most powerful, in my experience, the most powerful form of meditation for self-transformation is, do you think you can guess what it is? Get a mantra. That's number 7. So a mantra is not a conscious affirmation. A mantra is not, everything is happy and love and light, I'm getting better and better every day. That is a conscious affirmation. That is not a mantra. Conscious affirmations only stay in the conscious mind, and they don't work if the unconscious mind has a program that's different. For instance, I say this all the time, some guy's born in a religious household, his father was a priest, and the priest says that money is evil. And he tells his kid growing up, money is evil. If you focus on money, money is the root of all evil. You'll go to hell if you become rich. Right? So as that kid grows up, he shakes that off and he says, I want to make money, but for whatever reason he can't. And no matter how hard he tries, he just can't stay, financially solvent. So what needs to happen is that he needs to change his unconscious programming. But he decides he's going to go to Tony Robbins, and he's going to go to Zohar the Magnificent, who channels the law of attraction aliens, who, of course, she could just say herself what sounds like common sense, but it always sounds better if it comes from Zohar the Magnificent. For some reason, if an alien says it, it has a lot more meaning, even though it sounds just like common sense that a human would say. But so he decides to go to Zohar the Magnificent and learn how to attract using the laws of hoochie coochie attraction, and nothing happens. And he decides he's going to do positive affirmations, and he says, I'm rich and I'm powerful and I have all the money that I want, and I'm rich and I'm powerful and I have all the money that I want, but nothing changes. Or maybe it changes for a little bit and then it stops changing. Well, that's because conscious mind cannot override the unconscious programming. The unconscious programming will veto the conscious mind all the time. The unconscious mind is running 24/7. If you have the unconscious programming that money is evil, that sound, money is evil, is coming out of your unconscious 24/7. There's nothing you can do to stop it. Even if you're sitting there 12 hours a day, if you have the ability to do nothing but sit on the edge of your bed for 12 hours a day and say, I'm rich and I'm successful, the unconscious mind will veto it. And then you'll stop, because eventually you have to go to sleep. And then the unconscious mind will still churn out 24/7, money is evil, money is evil, money is evil. So what you need something that will go into the unconscious mind, will act as a virus, antivirus program to go in there and take away all of the false affirmations, the false programming, the false assumptions, the fears, the self-sabotage, the self-hatred, the insecurities. It's going to go in there and pull it apart and destroy it. This is what a mantra is. A mantra is a specific sound vibration equation that is tuned specifically to your bodily and mental and spiritual attunement. So the mantra that works for me is not going to be the same one that works for you. Maybe, unless we have certain things in our chart that are the same. And so if you get a reading from me, courses.thunderwizard.com, click on astrology or go to astrology.thunderwizard.com, you can get a mantra that is tuned specifically to you. You'll know what planet is trying to help you find your true path, and or there's one for money as well. You'll find out which deity, because even though you and I, if we have the same planet that's working for us, we're not going to vibe on the same deity based on the sound vibration of each deity. And then the mantra itself. You have to have a seed sound that's specifically designed for where your moon is, which is your mind. When you put all these things together and you have the sound vibration of that mantra, then you have the antivirus program that goes into your unconscious mind. We'll clean it all out. Once that happens, your unconscious mind is free to project out your third eye 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, your perfect reality. So people have been, even somebody here said, you've gotten younger. I agree. And part of that reason is because obviously I've done something right to clear up all of the stuff, and now my unconscious mind is churning out something that I said. I made a commitment to myself when I was 49. My God, I'm 56 now. I was 49 and I was racked with physical pain. I was living in Idaho, and I was in a marriage that was not working for me, and it was falling apart. And I didn't have money, I didn't have freedom, and I didn't have health. My knee was the size of a grapefruit, a basketball. I had constant pain in my neck and in my back. I was constantly having back spasms. I couldn't turn my neck, or I had so much, what do you call that, tendonitis, that I wouldn't have been able to lift up this cup of tea because my wrist, it would have been too painful on my wrist. Doctors told me that, you're getting too old, you did too much martial arts, you did too much percussion drumming, you've destroyed your tendons and the blah, blah, blah. You're just going to have to take pain medication for the rest of your life. That's just it. It's just part of getting old. And I'm sitting there in my front yard, and I'm thinking about, I can't think of a future for myself. I couldn't even imagine where to go. I mean, I couldn't see beyond tomorrow. I just had no hope. And I just stopped and I got angry. This is why it's important to have all your feelings. This whole love and light thing about, I don't go to that level. I never have anger. I mean, I've had people look me in the face when, I start to react to things that they're saying, and you know how I am, and I'm telling the truth about, this, what you're saying is doing this to me. It's making me feel like this, and I don't like what you're saying or what you're doing. And they'll go, I'm just not going to stoop to that level. I'm like, no, have your feelings, say something. No, I refuse. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go to your level. And they continue to be miserable. You got to have your feelings. You got to have all your negative feelings. And so I sat there and I got angry. And I got angry because I realized that I just didn't want to live like this anymore. And I stood up and I looked up at the sky and I said, I refuse to be in pain. I refuse to be sick. I refuse to get old. I haven't accomplished all of the things I want. I want to surf again. I want to lift again. I want to be healthy. I want to be successful. I haven't done that. I refuse not to have everything that I want. I said, I don't know how I'm going to get it, but I'm going to get it, and none of you are going to stop me. As I shook my fist at the universe, just like Thanos. I did that. And it totally changed my life. From that moment on, you want to know what happened? Now, I didn't have any idea that it was going to mean anything. But I meant it. And as soon as that happened, my marriage fell apart. My wife at that time came to me with this list of needs which were totally impossible. And I said, I can't do that. I can try and do number 3 and number 7 and number 2, but I can't do, and she had more. We got through probably 10, and I said, stop, stop, stop. I can't even do that. It's impossible. God can't give you that. I can't do that. And then that was the end of the marriage. It's just continued to fall apart, and that was the end of it. It happened right after I made the commitment for what I wanted. And the universe, I'm absolutely, completely convinced that the universe goes, he did it! Okay, let's send in the choppers. Let's get him out of there. Get to the chopper! Let's get him to safety. And yeah, it was really tough. My marriage fell apart. I had no money. I was sick and I was in pain and I had no idea how I was going to function. I didn't even know, this is how bad it was. That when I ended up having to go live on my friend's couch because I had no money and I had no place to live. I had signed a quit claim, on the house that we had. I signed a prenup. And so basically when it was over, she just kicked me to the curb and said, get the F out. I had nothing. And I was in pain. I was sick. I went and looked at how to get public assistance money. What was it going to take? I mean, was I qualified to just have the state give me money so I could survive? That's how bad it was, you guys. So if you think that I'm being that I don't understand what's going on with you and I don't understand what you're experiencing, and if you think I'm being superficial and cavalier about it all, that it's easy for me to look at you, look at how healthy and strong and in shape he is. I was just as bad as you, if not worse. I made the decision. I refused. And I refuse to get old. I say it every day. I refuse to get old. I won't do it. I refuse to be unhappy. I refuse to not have everything I want. I demand that I have absolutely everything that I want and desire. There's a lot of things that I want in my life right now and I'm not going to get into. There's some things that I want in my life that cost money. And instead of doing what I started to do, which is how much can I afford? I went, screw that. I want it all. So I'm going to make my channel huge and I'm going to earn X amount of money. If I told you how much money I said I'm going to earn, you wouldn't believe me, and I'm not going to tell you right now. But once I made that decision, I'm going to earn X amount of money per day and I'm going to have everything that I want. I refuse to have anything other than that. It still works. I'm telling you, man, you've been taught. You have been programmed to deny yourself. Because if you deny yourself, guess what happens? Then you get to be controlled. If you deny yourself, then you'll be forced to go work in some job for somebody for X amount of pay. And for X amount of pay, you can only do thus and such. I'm telling you, the people that are controlled, that's what it is. When you say, I can only do this much, I'm only allowed this much in life. My ancestors said, those who die in battle go to Valhalla. Well, you got to be willing to go die for what you want. And what you want is what your soul wants. You got to be willing to go die for it. All right, so let's move on to these 10 goals here. Get the mantra. Live your Arudha. So, in Vedic astrology, there is this concept called the Arudha Lagna, which means the translation of it, not the specific translation, but the workable translation is the projection. So there's the who you really are, and again, people make the mistake of, I just want people to love me for who I am. Why can't you just see me for who I am and love me? That's babies. Babies need to be loved for who they are. Adults are loved for what they do. People love you for what you do for them. Get over it. People will not see you for who you are. Even your spouse will not see you for who you are. The only person who might see you for who you are is your mother the first 5 years of your life. After that, nobody's going to see who you are. Only you get to experience your true self. you learn to love your true self. The world, everybody in the world, is going to love you for what they see in you. So you have who you are, and then there is what projects out of you. This is something that is based on past life accomplishments, and it is a gift that you have that you may be completely unaware of. For instance, I also like Thanos here. The thing I like about Thanos is that Thanos is a really good depiction of my dark side. So my dark side, actually, let me say that better. This is a really good depiction of my aruda, my projection, when I am not in my greatest and highest awareness. So my aruda is Mars in the third house in Libra. If you're an astrologer, you already know that I'm a Leo ascendant. So my self is my Leo ascendant with a debilitated moon because I was born on a new moon. So that my moon is debilitated. That's bad. That makes me very sensitive. That makes me very intuitive in a negative way. I take on too much of people's stuff. It makes me cranky and all that other stuff. It makes me a wimp, if you want to know the truth. It makes me very sensitive and wimpy and all that. That's who I am. There's also a lot of other good things, but that's not how people see me. How people see me is Mars in the third house in Libra, which is the spiritual warrior, the spiritual protector. They see me. Imagine Thanos if he went to a Tony Robbins seminar and then maybe went to Zohar the Magnificent's seminar on the law of attraction and found that everything was love and light and beautiful. Imagine what would happen to it. So that's me when I'm in my good space, the smile on my face, and I can flex my muscles, and yeah, I'm a protector, and I'm spiritual, and I pray, but I don't take no guff, and I fight evil, and that's my aruda. That's not how I feel a lot of the time. A lot of the time I feel like myself, which is debilitated moon in Leo, which is the isolated, misunderstood king who, is locked away from his kingdom. That's how I feel when I'm not in my best space of mind. But the great thing is that I can feel exactly like that as long as I show up in costume. I'm wearing my costume right now. As long as this is part of my costume, this is part of my costume, this is part of my costume. All of it is my costume. It's my aruda. People will see me that way whether I like it or not. Now, when I'm not in my best space, what'll happen is if you're not in your best aruda, what'll happen is that you will start to delude yourself that you're being humble. Because your aruda will be, my aruda is to puff my chest out and to say how great I am. That's my aruda. And people give me a hard time for it, but more people love it than hate it. And they want what I have. But that doesn't mean that that's an easy thing for me to do. I'm learning how to do it more and more, but it wasn't easy in the beginning. Because my false humility says, no, I'm not a bully. Because I had an older brother who was a bully. I got bullied as a kid because I was the shortest kid in school. I was a short, skinny little kid. And I got jumped every day. Going to the beach, going to school. You had no idea. And then my brother was waiting for me when I got home. And I'd walk in the door. He was 5 years older than me. He was the biggest, toughest kid, in our neighborhood. And I'd walk in and he'd slap me on the back of my head as hard as he could. And I'd say, why do you do that? And he said, because I felt like it. That's what I grew up with. So I hated those kind of people. I couldn't stand them. So for my astrologer to tell me your aruda is the spiritual warrior, what you need to do is go out and puff your chest and show people how tough you are. I said, I'm not going to do that. And then I learned that I'd been doing that my whole life. And what had happened my whole life is that I scared the crap out of people. This is me when I'm not in my highest awareness. So when I take on the role of I'm not going to threaten you, I'm going to show you, I'm going to be falsely humble. I'm not threatening. I'm not powerful. This is what comes out. This is what you see. I walk down the street like this. People get the hell out of my way. I think that I'm showing this. But what comes out of me is this. It means that you can't hide from your Aruda. You're either giving your negative side of your Aruda, which is going to impact people in a negative way. In my case, since I'm the warrior, people think I'm going to kill them. They think I'm an assassin. If I embrace it and I get rid of the false humility and I smile and I puff my chest out and I do this and I bounce my boobs around and flex my muscles, hey, what's up? People love it and they want to be around me. They're not afraid of me. They like me. They feel safe around me. You have your Aruda. So you have to live it. Your Aruda will also tell you how you're going to be, may tell you specifically how you're going to make money. I've analyzed my Aruda down to the nth degree, and this is exactly what it is. Coming onto YouTube every day and spouting my opinion without any filter and being harsh with people that are full of crap. When I go really down into my Aruda, that's exactly what it is. And that's how I make my living. So if you know what your Aruda is, you know not only how you will be best perceived, you'll see what your greatest strength is, your blessing to the world, but you'll also be able to bring yourself the greatest money. So that is number 8, which is to live your Aruda. Number 9, you have to have a mentor. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's your older brother. I don't care if it's your mom or your dad or your priest or your shaman, or if it's a counselor, or if it's a therapist. I don't care who it is. AA sponsor. I don't care who it is. You got to have somebody that you go to who will reflect back to you who you truly are. You got to have somebody that you can go to where you can talk from your real self and talk from your pain and from your fears and from your happiness and from your joy. It's not your wife. It's not your husband. They can't do it. They have an agenda. So please don't tell me, oh yeah, I do that. My wife does that for me. No, she doesn't. Your husband can't do that. You've got to be somebody outside of you that you are responsible to. I have people in my life that do that function. Somebody came on here and projected his garbage on me the other day, saying, you think you're so full of yourself, and do you think that that you can be taught something? What he really meant was, why don't you listen to me? I have advice for you. And I said, yeah, I have teachers that I pay. Do you have somebody you pay? Because if you don't, I have more teachers than you. So if you want what I have, you got to do what I do. I pay people to tell me the truth. You need that as well. Don't tell me you can't afford it. That goes back to, don't ever live your life based on what you can afford. Always go after what you want. The universe will give you whatever you need to have what you truly want. The rule will happen every time. Okay. And then the last one. Like Thanos, you must sacrifice everything. In the movie version, he sacrificed his daughter, who he loved more than his own life. And that's what it was. It's something that you love the most, that you love even more than your own life. You have to be willing to sacrifice that. If you're not, I can't guarantee any success. What most people don't want to sacrifice is the love and acceptance of other people, or the idea of the love and acceptance of other people. Listen to what I just said. What most people are unwilling to sacrifice is the love and acceptance of other people, or the idea. Most of us are still trying to get mommy and daddy's love. I just went through that. As you know, you saw me recently, a couple months back. For a few months, I was in an extremely toxic relationship, and it was because I had unresolved mommy issues. And I sought out a really abusive, as it turns out, mentally insane person who abused me more than anybody, and violated my trust, and abandoned me, and betrayed me in the worst way anybody ever has, even more than my own mother. And that's why I chose her out unconsciously, so I could get rid of that and work through it. And hopefully I have. Time will tell. But that was what I wanted most. I wanted mommy's love more than anything. I was willing, I mean, my career just took a dump for 4 months. I held it together, but it was everything was falling apart for 4 months because I was chasing after mommy's love in the personification of this actually mentally insane person who was incapable of loving me back. So when it comes to sacrificing everything, for most people, it's usually the sacrifice of the love and approval of people in their life. Now, if you get to an adult stage and your parents are dead, they still live in your unconscious mind. And so you're still trying to get mommy and daddy's love. My brother, to my knowledge, I haven't talked to him recently. Last I heard, he was homeless. And he's still waiting for mom and dad. My mom and dad are both dead. They've been dead for, my dad's been dead for 20 years, 25 years, 20 years. My mom's been dead for a couple of years. He's still out there, panhandling. Last I heard, I could be wrong. I wish him all the best. Maybe he's now, CEO of IBM. I don't know. I don't care. Good for him. But last I heard, that's where he was, and he's still waiting for mom and dad to tell him he's a good boy. It's never going to happen. You have to be willing to sacrifice everything, including the love and approval of everybody, or the idea of love and approval from everybody. Could be the job. You might have to give up that job. I've told the story about a friend of mine. I'll tell it again. It was a guy that I reconnected with that I knew in college. We reconnected, and I was back there, even was it before? It was before I was in that studio house in South Central. I was in another studio apartment living under somebody's roof, listening to them clomp on top of me. And not only was I not making rent, I was in debt. I was living off of credit cards, and I was just doing my channel. I was just starting to write my book. In fact, the book, The Shamanic Secret Commandment to the Perfect Life, that's when I got that. Because I went to the universe and I said, something has to change. So I believed. I said, I trust you right now to tell me the book I'm supposed to write that's going to make my career. Tell me what it is. Just give it to me in one word. And the word happiness came to me. And I went, are you out of your freaking mind? I'm anything but happy right now. How could I possibly write a book on happiness? So the first thing I did is I wrote a book called Happiness. It didn't go anywhere. I don't think I've even sold one copy of it. And then I wrote The Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life, because I became aware that the way I was living was that I was going to live what I wanted. And I didn't care what anybody else was. I didn't care anything. I had a joy, and I was going to go after it, and I wrote a book about it to tell myself what I needed. It was a handbook for myself. And if you don't think it worked, look at my life now compared to then. I forgot my point. I'm very self-righteous in that moment, and I forgot my point. All right, so let's see if there are any questions now. All right, so where the hell was I? Full moon tonight. Thank you. One more thing. Question: How can you Thunderous Staves Rangel, how can you continue to tap into your joy when facing unconscious resistance and depression and shitty situations that come up when you're trying to go after what you want? How can you continue to tap into your joy? Go back to that first moment. Go back to that first moment when you asked the questions. You said, if I lived in a fantasy world where I didn't have to make money, I didn't have to have a job, I didn't have to meet anybody's expectations, I could do anything I want, I can only do what makes me happy, and I can't live for anybody else. In those conditions, what is it that I'm doing that gives me the greatest joy? And you went, oh, it's to do. I'm going to go do that. The joy that came up, that joy is an inspiration moment. It's there to stand as a landmark. It is the postcard from the universe. Because if the universe would just tell me what I'm supposed to do, you had it. It was in the joy moment. Now you're supposed to go back and go, that's right. I remember I had joy and I thought about it. That's what I'm going to do. Nobody said, and I'm not telling you that your unconscious resistance, depression, and crappy situations that come up that try and stop you won't happen. It's not about getting rid of your feelings. Your feelings are just reactions. That's all that they are. Your thoughts are just reactions. I'm sorry, law of attraction. Your thoughts and your feelings are not the most important thing. Because if they are, we are all screwed. Because the only person who's going to be able to manifest their perfect world based on their thoughts or their feelings is somebody that has zero negative feelings. And that person doesn't exist. And worse, if they go into denial, everything is love and beautiful, everything is love and light. Underneath the people who say that everything is love and light, if they're in denial, this is what's underneath it. Pure, total chaos. Thanos is what's underneath the everything is love and light. And what does Thanos do? Thanos annihilates the universe. Thanos represents unconscious hopelessness. So if you are one of those people and you don't have any negative feelings whatsoever and everything is lovely and beautiful, I don't believe you. You might be one of those people that really actually is. There's a few people in the world that are like that, but the rest of us, you're full of all kinds of uncomfortable feelings. So my friend, it's not about getting rid of your feelings. It's about taking the action on the joy that hit you way back when, regardless of how you feel. That's what most of these are. I'm repeating myself in most of these 10 goals here. Commit totally. It doesn't say when you feel good, commit. It says commit totally. You can put regardless of your feelings. You can say decide on a date, regardless of your feelings. Do anything, regardless of your feelings. Do not stop, regardless of your feelings. Meditate on goal, regardless of your feelings. Get a mantra. Live your Aruda, regardless of your feelings. Talk to your mentor, Thundra Staves Rangel. Talk to your mentor, regardless of your feelings. 10. Sacrifice everything, regardless of your feelings. Okay? I hear you. Got a lot of, the resistance is just expect. Just expect that the worst possible resistance you can imagine will arise. Just expect it. This is why our ancestors were, that's why the Vikings conquered the world. The tiny little group of people, totally, uneducated, not part of the civilized world, the last hangers-on on the edge of the universe to the pagan way, to the polytheist way. They ended up ruling, all of the civilized world. For that very reason, they knew that you either, those who died in battle went to Valhalla. It doesn't say those who died in battle went to Valhalla when they felt good. Those who die in battle, regardless of their feelings, go to Valhalla. Okay? Same thing. I'm happy to keep telling you the same thing over and over again because we need to be reminded. So I'm happy to help you with that. Hopefully I answered your question. Man, hang on a second. This chair is getting uncomfortable for my huge ass here. All right. That's not a question. That's not a question. Again, everybody, I'm just interested in your questions. I don't care about your compliments or comments, nothing personal. I just want the questions. Edmund Dantes, question. Animist methods for quitting tobacco. So I believe in you, Edmund, and the first thing that I believe in you to do is to be able to write a full sentence. I know it's challenging. Might have to use your more things on your thumb to put in some more words in there. Why do you need an animist method? Just quit. I don't know what else to tell you. Tobacco is one of the worst things to quit. They say quitting cigarettes is worse than quitting heroin. It's extremely addictive. I don't know what to tell you, man. Just quit. It doesn't need to be an animist way. Just freaking quit, man. If you want to go take Nicorette, that's fine with me. I don't care. Just quit. He says, I know if I can get 3 days, I can maintain it. Good for you. So now you know. Go get 3 days or die trying. I know it's harming me and abstinence is the only way, but I just want love, which cigs give me the feeling. Yeah, that's right. You're absolutely right. All chemicals are there to give you the feeling of love. That's absolutely correct. That's why there is such a huge, what are those things called? Opiates. Now, opiates are different than a lot of other drugs in that there are a lot of drugs that have an emotional component, like THC is one of them. There is a physical component to THC addiction, but the biggest thing about addiction is the mental and emotional. When it comes to opiates, that's actually a physical thing. If you're addicted to opiates, you can't just stop. I mean, the body you can't do it. You got to actually go to a hospital and detox. Tobacco is almost at that level. And you're absolutely right. What they do is it hits the pleasure centers of the brain. And so that tells you something right there. Like I said before, one of the biggest things that stops people from everything is, wanting the love and approval of people. And you have to let go of that. So if you want an animist method, you want a shamanic method, you want a Viking method, here's what you're going to do. You're going to say, as you've told me, if I can go 3 days, I can maintain it. So you're going to say to yourself, those who die in battle go to Valhalla. I am going to be abstinent from cigarettes for 3 days, even if it kills me. No matter what happens, I will not. And that's it. It's okay with me if you fail. It's okay with me if you fail until you make it. But that's the only way to do it. I don't know another way to do it. The animist method is make a vow. Make a vow to the gods. Stand in front of the full moon tonight and make a vow to the gods. So ask for their help and say, I need help. I make a vow to you to empower myself to live at my highest vibration for the empowerment of the gods and for the rest of the world and for my own empowerment. I make this vow and I call upon the powers of the earth and the powers of the sky and the powers of the moon and the powers of the sun and the powers of the stars, the powers of the 5 elements, the powers of all of the ancestors that have gone before me. I call upon all of those powers and I make the vow that I will stop tobacco for 3 days or I will die trying. Give that a try, see if it works. This is where spirituality comes in. PCG Terry, if Edmond Dantes wanted your opinion, he would go on to your channel and he would ask you a question. Please don't give out your opinions on my channel because I don't know if that's what's best for him. Okay? I know you meant only well. You're new to the channel, but that's one of the things I don't like. I don't like other people chiming in and giving answers. Matt Dowling, question, can multiple people serve this role as mentor in different ways? What do you mean? What does that mean? They're either a mentor or they're not. That's what I said earlier about they're not your husband, they're not your wife. You can have a husband and a wife that can give you good advice, but they can't be your mentor. Because a mentor is somebody who has no agenda. Your wife has an agenda, your friend has an agenda, your brother has an agenda, your employees have an agenda, your friends have an agenda. People who want your love have an agenda. It's not a bad thing, it's just a fact. A mentor is somebody who tells you the truth whether you like it or not. A mentor is somebody who tells you the truth, and when you say, I refuse to do that, they say, okay, no problem, there's the door. Give me a call when you're ready to do it. A mentor is somebody who, when you say, I don't like what you said, you're reminding me of my dad, I hate you right now, the mentor says, I know. Nevertheless, here's what I think you ought to do. That's why good mentors are people you pay. Psychologists, spiritual teachers, you pay them money. You pay them money to protect you. Listen to what I'm saying. People say, why do you charge money? I need to talk to you. I don't have any money. Well, if you want to talk to me, you can buy a session from me. Why do you need money? Why are you so... The money is to protect you. Because if I don't charge you money, I, like any other human, I'm going to look for some way to get energy from you. The easiest way to do it is with love. I'm going to want your love, your approval. That's why I don't date students. The moment that a woman comes to me on my channel or comes to me and reaches out to me and says they want my help, if that's their first connection to me, I am now bound karmically for the rest of this incarnation to only treat them as a student, and it is my job to only give them what is best for them. And they pay me money so that I will not have agendas, so that I won't want anything from them. Your mentor is somebody that doesn't want anything from you. I can tell by this question that you want to have your friend do it or you want to have your wife do it, and we do it in multiple ways. You're wanting somebody you can. Here's the other part. Whenever you look for somebody and you say, oh, it's my wife or it's my best friend or it's my dad or it's my uncle, you're wanting somebody that you can manipulate. Because if they have an agenda and they want your approval, then you're going to try and manipulate them to keep you to co-sign your garbage. And they will. Listen, you guys think I'm harsh with you? That's because I don't have an agenda with you. But if I've got somebody in my life who's my friend, or if I meet somebody on the street and they give me a victim mentality, guess what? I don't climb up their rear end and start telling them, you know, die in battle to go to Valhalla and don't waste my time and the world has no place for victims. I listen to them and I say, that sounds really tough. Here, let me give you a hug, because I'm friends with them. It's not my job to do that. I want something from them. I want them to feel good so that they'll make me feel good. So I can tell from your question that you're coming from a place of weakness and manipulation. You say, are you suggesting one only, no need for multiples? No, you can have more than one, but there's got to be an equal exchange of energy. They got to be somebody that doesn't have an agenda. I have multiples. I have more than one. But I either pay them money or there's some other, professional kind of relationship. The only other way is if you make the decision, like for instance, like in 12-step groups, like Alcoholics Anonymous, right? Let's give that for an example. There people sponsor other people, and those people can be mentors. But that person, part of his requirement for his own sobriety is to share what he knows with other people for free. But he also can't have a relationship. He can't sponsor somebody and be their best friend, or sponsor them and date them. It's still a professional relationship, but he's doing it for his own sobriety. If you go out there and you feed the poor as a gift to Saturn for your own karma, it's still a professional relationship. What you're getting out of it is you're burning off your karma and you are not being their friend. So anybody in your life that doesn't fit into that mold is not a mentor. There has to be a professional distance, and there has to be an equal exchange of energy, even if they are working off their own karma in some way or other. All right, I hope I answered that question. Ephemeral Majesty, that's not a question. Please, questions only, guys. PGC Terry, that's not a question, but I'm gonna address it. I have heard that kratom is helping people wean off opiates. Kratom is an opiate. Kratom is an opiate. It hits the same receptors. That's why people use it. So people become addicted to kratom as well. And I've seen it. I've seen people get messed up. It is true that it's easier, but I don't want you to give out the idea. This is why people shouldn't come onto my channel and give advice. I don't want you to do that. Somebody could see that and they could replace, opiates with kratom without having gone to a doctor and found out what the hell they're supposed to do. And they could be worse off than before. So I'm not going to let that one slide. James Noonan, question. My Aruda is Leo in the 5th house. Would you be able to give me examples of how to live that out? I have some ideas, but would like to hear your opinion. I'd prefer to do that in a reading. I don't want to take up too much time here because I would go into it. If I had a reading with you, I'd sit down for probably 20 minutes and talk to you about all that's involved in that. What I will tell you, just to make it easier, if you don't want to get astrology.thunderwizard.com courses.thunderwizard.com, click on astrology. If you don't want that from me, go on to YouTube and type in Leo in the fifth house. KRS channel guy will give you a really good lowdown on what that is. That will tell you a lot. Find out what is the Leo ascendant, what is the fifth house. Put it all together, create your own list. All right, let's see. Nothing more. All right, so I'm going to take a quick little break here. I want. There's a couple of people I want to come onto the channel and let you have their experience of everything that we do here. People of Earth have been wondering, is Thanos real? When is he going to arrive on planet Earth? Well, I'm here to tell you, my children, that I am here. And I have a command for you. If you wish to escape annihilation, you will go to the thunderwizard.com YouTube channel and you will subscribe before I close my... Hey there, this is Arnold. I have a very important announcement. I command you to listen to me. This is Arnold Swears He's Bigger, and I'm here to tell you something very important. You must go to thunderwizard.com YouTube channel, subscribe and hit the bell button. I command you to do this. It's the most important thing you're ever going to do in your life. If you don't listen to me now and hear me later and go and subscribe, I'm going to come to your house and I'm going to shame you in front of your whole family. I'm going to go to your school and I'm going to chastise you in front of your friends. I'm going to go to your church. I'm going to stand in front of the whole congregation and I'm going to tell people how stupid you are for not going and subscribing to this channel. I tell you now, it's the most important thing you're ever going to do. You have to go and subscribe right now, otherwise my head is going to explode. Do it now, I command you. All right, so there's just a couple of my friends who believe in the channel. Let me see if there's anything else we can talk about. The most powerful energy practice in my experience is the celestial qigong. I'm looking here, again, it takes a lot. Sounds good, thanks. I do plan on getting a reading from you as soon as I can afford it. I have to tell you, I don't understand that. I mean, I understand not being able to afford something, but if my readings were $1,000, I could understand that. A couple $100, it's hard for me to understand unless you're like a kid, unless you're like 16 or 17 and you're living with your parents. It's hard for me to understand not having access to that. And I say that as somebody who went through bankruptcy and was always on the verge of, being homeless. But if there was something that I wanted that I thought was beneficial for me, I bought it. I used my credit card. I did whatever I had to do to get what I wanted. So I just kind of want to point, again, I don't know you well enough to know your circumstances. Even if you say, well, you don't understand, I have a wife and 2 kids. All right, well, who forced you to have a wife and 2 kids? Whose idea was that? Nobody forced you to do that. You could expend yourself that way. Look, I'm not trying to guilt you into buying anything from me. One purchase isn't going to make or break me one way or another. I'm just saying that mindset, the mindset of I only do what I can afford, keeps you there. If you really want something, if you think that something, whatever it is, has the ability to make your life better, and we're talking about the Aruda. The Aruda, if you know what the Aruda is and you know how to make the world turn around and give you money, that's valuable to you. Maybe you see it differently than I do, and that's okay. But for me, really valuable. And if I thought, if it cost, me, if somebody said, $1,000 and I'll tell you this, and I thought it was going to help me, I'd find a way to find that $1,000, a couple hundred for you. So I just want to encourage you not to live like that if you can help and then take action towards what you want as soon as possible. If it were me, I would be like, I want to know the information as soon as possible so I can take action on it as soon as possible so that I can get the benefits of it as soon as possible. I don't want to wait. That's just me. Anyway. So let's see. Is there any other questions here? Yeah, okay, so again, it's always best if you have a question, don't double down, because guess what happens? When you double down on something I pointed out, the shark comes out and I'm going to find out how full of crap you are. And I'm going to put it right in your face. If you're willing to do that in front of people, I'm going to help you with that. Just gotta save. Been spending money on my goals, but turning my mind towards spiritual goals now. Now, what is the difference between your goals and your spiritual goals? I have no difference between the two of them. They're one and the same. My whole life is a spiritual goal. Right there's a problem. Even if we make that distinction, your goals versus your spiritual goals, you are saying that one of those is more important than the other. And it's kind of confusing because what you're saying is that your personal goals are more important because you've just spent money on them. But now you're going to save up for your spiritual goals. That sounds like you're saying your spiritual goals are less important. But I can also tell from that what you're saying is that your spiritual goals are more important. Why isn't it the other way around? Why haven't you said, I've been spending my money on my spiritual goals and then I have these personal goals which I'm going to save up for? Why isn't it like that? In any case, I still don't understand the thought process. There's something I want, I get it. I don't wait. I go and I get it. That's just me. All right. What else now? That's it for that. I was going to talk about celestial qigong. This is one of those practices that if you do it, it will have wide effects on every part of your life. So if you're not asking questions, I'm going to sell you stuff, and then we'll come back. If there are any more questions, I'll continue. If not, I'll call it a day. SpiritTao.com, and this is Celestial Neigong Part 1. Celestial Neigong means that this is power that is descending from heaven. And the idea is that we are all microcosms of the entire universe. You are the entire universe, and everything around you is simply the projection. You are looking within yourself. So when you look up into the stars at night, you're actually looking deep within your own body. When you look at the sun, the moon, the trees, the flowers, you're looking within yourself. This is Neigong. And so what we're doing is we're simply releasing that infinity from within us. You are tapping into and releasing the power that is within our own body, our own cells, our own organs. So one of the reasons that I'm making this DVD is in the hope that the essence and the spirit of the teaching of the Shang Qing arts can be taught to the world at large, and it is my hope that the core essence of what the Shang Qing tradition is will continue to live and grow and evolve. As we move on into the Aquarian age, everything is changing. I don't need to tell you that. The entire world is changing, and what we are seeing now is that if people hold on to external things, they are very challenged in life. And those who are making the transition into the next phase that we are moving into in the world as we approach 2012, those who look within and find their source of strength from within, those are the people who are getting the most out of life and will make the transition into the next phase of evolution most comfortably. It is my belief that the Shang Qing tradition is one method whereby human beings can evolve into the next level of being in the most comfortable fashion and be able to take advantage of the rapid energetic, mental, and spiritual changes that are going on in the world today. All right. Okay, let's see. What am I looking for? Immortality package links. All right. Is that the one I want? Immortality. Let me double check that. I have so many links sometimes I forget what the heck is going on here with all my links. I'm about to tell you about something I think that you all also should take advantage of. Sorry, I'm typing with one hand like an idiot because I'm getting tired and hungry. All right, I'm just double checking that link. Yep, that's the one I want. All right, so I want to talk to you about this because this special will not last long. And it is probably the most valuable special that I've offered. And again, I'm getting ready to pay my taxes. As I said, I have all the money now to pay my taxes and I'm good. So I'm going to start raising my prices back up. This package right here, if you don't take advantage of it now, it's not going to be here much longer. The Celestial Qigong you just saw is part of this, so I'm going to show you that. So I recommend you take advantage of it. Nope, that's not what I want. I want the video. Did I have a video for it? I thought I had a video for it, but I guess not. All right, so since I've got it up here, let me tell you what it's all about. So in this package, I do believe that I give you the Celestial Qigong as well as Escaping the Matrix. So you have to understand how these two things go together. How escaping the Matrix and getting the Matrix to give you everything that you want, knowing what the rules of how the Matrix works, because you do live in a Matrix. And you're either living in one of two ways. The Matrix is either rewarding you, like it's rewarding me in my life, or it is punishing you because you're operating outside of your awareness of your true soul desire. So there are certain rules. When you understand what the rules are, doesn't matter how you feel. You can feel as crappy as you want. Just follow the rules, and it's like pulling levers on the matrix to get it to function for you. So that, in connection with the Celestial Qigong, which is actually the power of the universe, you put those two things together, and I don't remember everything else that's in it, but it would be like, 4 times that amount. Save $400. I'm looking at it right. So save $400, even if you were to get it on, a good price. So I recommend that you go look at that. There's a video on that page. Go take a look at that. I strongly endorse and recommend that. All right. So what else? Anything else? Let's see if there's any more questions here. Nope, no questions. All right. I'm hungry. My phone's yelling at me, so it's time to go. Thank you, my friends, for coming on and being here today. And I see you next time.